I was young, I saw somebody using a fly rod and waving a rod back and forth and making that line throw the fly was just fascinating to me. Fly fishing is an art, it's a skill. It kind of reminds me of using a longbow or a recurve as opposed to a compound. It speaks to me and I like it. I like the artfulness of it.
You can fish a fly rod in the same place you fish conventional tackle. My favorite way is wading, but it's also effective from a boat or a kayak.
You know, one common misconception is fly fishing is only for trout, cold water fish, trout and salmon. You can fly fish for anything that swims as long as it feeds by sight. I mean, I've caught catfish, catch gar, smallmouth, largemouth. We've been over all that. You can catch anything on a fly rod. You know, when you're going out to buy a fly rod and reel, I tell everybody, get the best you can afford within reason. I do the same thing with my conventional tackle, or my archery tackle, or a gun. But a fly rod, they make all kinds. And they're not as expensive as people think. Yeah, you can go out and you can spend a ton of money. But the rod that I've been using, you can pick up used for about 20 bucks. You know, it doesn't have to be a giant to have fun. I mean, I'm a catcherman. I'm not much of a fisherman. I love to catch fish. And the different colors, this one's kind of a gold color. You know, they go from dark brown stripes to gold. They're just beautiful.
The best thing to remember when you're casting a fly rod is you're not casting a lure. You're casting a fly line. The line actually has weight. So it's a rhythm, it's not a whipping action. Your motion should be a 10 to 2 o'clock motion with your rod. You have to go fairly sharp with it, but not fast. It doesn't take much effort to cast a fly rod.
So, in today's world with the internet, it is so easy to figure out what to fish with. Remember, with a fly rod, all you're doing is imitating bait. If it looks like bait to you, it'll look like bait to the fish. And you can go to your big box store, you can go to your specialty fly shops, you can order stuff online, you can put it all in one box. And it doesn't take a whole lot of stuff. All these flies can be bought. This is a surface fly. It's called a popper. And this is just one style. A friend of mine tied this one. This is a minnow type fly. You can see that it wiggles. You can use this, and then of course a crawfish fly. You could go to a creek, to a lake, but really, you know, river fishing with a couple of these and maybe change a different color. Catch all the fish you want. Little guy, bet it's a rock bass. Let's see. Bet it's a rock bass. No, it's a bluegill.
Quick tip. To get better with a fly rod, you gotta use a fly rod. And for me, that meant leaving the conventional tackle at home and forcing myself to fish with nothing but the fly rod.
I love water like this because we've got a fast run up ahead and a ripple, and yet you got deep water right here. So I'm trying to pick apart the edges of the deep just off current where they can sit to dart out and get their food. And then as the water slows down back through here, they'll be hugging the bottom, be looking for stuff. The only time I really fish dead water or eddy water is if I see a bass, mainly a smallmouth, come in and push bait into here. They will corral them up against these weeds, and that's a great time to make a cast. It's always worthwhile to make a shot or two, but the main part of this hole, that's where we're concerned about. Look, when you're fishing in a river, everything in that river is eating aquatic insects, minnows, crawfish, or some kind of terrestrial like a grasshopper or cicada that falls in the water. Everything from bluegill, largemouth, smallmouth, sunfish, gar, everything eats that. So when you're imitating something like that, there's no telling what you're going to catch. You can't just say, I'm going to go out and catch only smallmouth, because you're not going to. You're going to catch all kinds of species.
There we go. Feels like a decent one.
If you're just bent on catching trout, you know, then trout's all you're going to be satisfied with.
There you go.
But heck, a smallmouth fights harder than any trout, pound for pound, that ever lived. Well, for that matter, a bluegill does. So if I can't get to a trout stream living here in Middle Tennessee, West Tennessee, even East Tennessee, you know, you put on a pair of shoes and jump in a creek where you're allowed to fish, and you go out and, I don't know, you catch 10 or 15 fish that day and you're by yourself. What could be better than that?